nächste Zyklus wird da sein. Und während im Programm noch Berlin-Wirtschaftssenatorin aber noch angekündigt ist, müssen wir Sie euch entschuldigen, aber ich freue mich, dass Sie da sind, lieber Herr Beckatz. Und die Senatoren heute sicherlich angemessen vertreten werden. Herzlich willkommen und auch herzlich willkommen an alle Abgeordneten aus Bund, aus Ländern, aus den Botschaften, Mitarbeiter, aus den Ministerien. Schön, dass Sie alle da sind. Eine politische Botschaft kann ich mir nicht verkneifen, während der Bundestagswahl, wo ich jetzt gerade das Mikrofon habe. Und alle, die hier sind, wissen, wie wichtig Talente für unsere Startups sind. Talente sind der Treiber unseres Erfolgs. Das sind die Gründer, das sind die Gründer, das sind die Mitarbeiter. Und heute kommen 40% unserer Mitarbeiter in unsere Startups nicht mehr aus Deutschland. Und wenn wir dann sehen, dass ein Brexit Unsicherheit verbreitet, gerade für junge Menschen bei der Jobsuche, dass ein US-Präsident missverständliche Signale sendet, dass man möglicherweise nicht mehr willkommen ist in den USA, vielleicht auch Silicon Valley, dann will ich sagen, dann müssen wir sagen, danke Donald, bei uns seid ihr willkommen, liebe Talente, kommt zu uns. Und deshalb fordern wir ganz klar die Bundesregierung auf und hoffen aus Unterstützung aus Berlin, natürlich aus den Ländern, ein Zuwanderungsgesetz zu schaffen. Ein Zuwanderungsgesetz, das so einfach ist wie eine Stellenausschreibung. Wir müssen endlich sagen, wer wir sind, nämlich eine Nation, die Talente willkommen heißt. Wir müssen sagen, zu welchen Konditionen man den Job hier antreten kann und das möglichst transparent und einfach machen. Weil auch das Kapital am Ende des Tages, das wissen wir, den Talenten folgt. Investoren investieren bei euch, in eure Köpfe und das ist unsere ganz klare Botschaft. Idealerweise nicht erst nach der Bundestagswahl, das ist schon fast wieder zu spät, sondern alles andere. Die man sich leisten kann und die Gründerkasse nicht zu sehr belasten. Deswegen, ich kann sie nicht alle aufzählen, wir haben noch Gelegenheit später. Herzlichen Dank für diese Unterstützung. Und zuletzt, ich mache das mal ohne Eigenlob, aber ein ganz großes Dankeschön an unser Team vom Startup-Verband. Die letzten Nächte waren kurz, um das hier alles vorzubereiten. Da steckt viel Energie dahinter und auch wenn ihr noch abwarten müsst, wie gut es wird, bis hierhin will ich schon mal Danke sagen und vielleicht schließt ihr euch an und motiviert das Team, die nächsten 2 Tage richtig durchzurocken. Ich wünsche euch, ich wünsche uns ein erfolgreiches Startup-Camp 2017, viele Deals, viele gute Gespräche und übergebe sehr gerne das Mikrofon an Sie, Herr Minister. Herzlich willkommen auf dem Startup-Camp.
Danke, Herr Nöll. Guten Morgen auch von mir. Danke, dass Sie alle hier so früh sind. Wir wissen, für Studenten ist das nicht immer sehr leicht. Ich werde es jetzt auf Englisch umschalten, damit auch unsere bulgarischen Partner das verfolgen können. Again, good morning from the Bulgarian Minister of Economy. We're very happy to be here. As you heard, Bulgaria is an official partner country of this event today. And we think it's just a natural thing to be. But we have a very vibrant, very fast-growing ecosystem of startups that you've probably heard of. Actually, the Bulgarian government heard about a very fast developing ecosystem from abroad, from citations in leading business journals stating that Bulgaria ranks among the 10 places in the world where you can start your business, among the top 5 countries in Europe that attract acceleration capital. We had the first seed capital fund in Eastern Europe. We have a lot of foreign young people, very energetic, full of talent and ideas coming to Bulgaria, opening their business there. They're coming to the capital city of Sofia. They also come to the beautiful cities of Varna and Burgas and starting their businesses there. I have an initiative as a Minister of Economy, which is called Having Coffee with a Minister, and I meet with entrepreneurs weekly. So we had very pleasant meetings with dozens of young people like you, which told us they have gone through a list of countries in the world and chosen Bulgaria because they had the best conditions there. Not just a natural thing like beautiful nature, tasty food, friendly people, fast internet. We are among the nations in the world with the fastest internet. Very good initiatives about open data, where municipal and government structures publish everything that they have online, which can be then processed by machines, artificial intelligence. And all these things are kind of known about Bulgaria. What is less known and what these young people have discovered is this talent pool that we have in the country. Young people educated abroad, many of them here in Germany and other European countries, speaking different languages, ICT tradition. You know, Bulgaria has this ICT, information communication technologies tradition from decades, and we were specialized in the old socioeconomic system to produce computers, computer engineers, and programmers. So we have built on top of that and have developed a very strong expanding export-oriented ICT sector. We have this great sector for outsourcing. We're actually taking jobs back to the EU from China and India because of the competitiveness of our young workforce. And on top of that, this startup ecosystem has grown without being noticed by the state. It has produced many beautifully designed co-working spaces, networks among young people and entrepreneurs, financing possibilities, and got Sofia in Bulgaria very famous in the world. So the government could only come afterwards and say, what good things are you doing here, so we can only support you. So after the first visit with our back 2 months ago, newly elected president, with me, we had talks here. And one of the most interesting talks was with Mr. No about building bridges between the startup communities, because the Berlin startup community is, something that we follow with great interest. So from both sides, there seem to be big interest to get the people to know each other, to present investment options and possibilities, and talent pool, to join the two talent pools. So we very fast decided we can do this together, and just in 2 months, when working with energetic young entrepreneurs, it's very easy to organize things. We have this event today where Bulgaria is official partner country. So this event is, and the participation of 26 Bulgarian startups that we will see and meet today, is supported by Bulgarian Ministry of Economy, the Agency for Promotion of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise in Bulgaria, which we have here today. So as you can see, government stands behind this initiative and is something which we are very proud to present as the most innovative and fast developing side of Bulgarian economy, integrated in the EU economy. So in this respect, I wish you high returns on today's meetings in effort, in joint effort and investments and contacts. And we'll be with you until the end of the day. Will be a long and fruitful day, I hope, for every one of us. A lot of success to you.
So, dear Minister Sedlarski, dear State Secretary Rickers, dear German Startup Association, dear entrepreneurs, funders, investors, welcome on behalf of the Humboldt University. I would like to also welcome here at our beautiful Audimax. I think it is the third time. Yeah, third time? Okay, yeah, we support this event by hosting the location, and we are very glad that we are a partner of the German Startups Association. When you wonder why we as a university do that, the following statistic, which hopefully, you see here, maybe gives a picture why. It is not just the fact that more and more companies spin off and are founded with the help of the universities. It's also that the universities have a pool of creative and innovative students and researchers and people with an entrepreneurial mindset, which is, of course, attractive to growing startups, especially here in Berlin, to hire employees. I think this is a very impressive statistic, and it shows that the universities are element, a major element of the startup scene here in Berlin. So supporting entrepreneurship is of major importance for the universities. It is a career option for our students and researchers and graduates. It does create jobs in the city. It strengthens the competitiveness of Berlin's and Germany's economy, and not only by the startups itself, but also bringing our startups together with corporates and our innovative research. I think that is a big potential, especially here in Berlin. And with supporting startups, Berlin actually is building its future industry. You know, we are not Munich, we are not Stuttgart yet, but we will be soon. And we, from a university's perspective, we actually build our future collaboration partners. Already now is a joint research between the universities and our startups, which we actually supported, growing and growing. You know, Berlin is investing 1.4 billion euros every year in its universities. Investing a small part of that in the transfer of knowledge and technology is wisely spent. Yeah. The Humboldt-Universität, for example, has built over the last years an efficient startup support ecosystem with, for example, incubator space, grants, consultancy, and a networking system for corporate startups and research. And it does work. The survival rate of our alumni startups after 5 years is above 80%, which is a quite nice number, actually. So we are very glad that the city of Berlin is strongly supporting us. And I'm looking forward to hear more from State Secretary Rickards, what are the plans there. And Berlin does not compete on a national level. Berlin is competing on an international level, and even we as a university do so. So the city should consistently improve and support the entrepreneurship environment, and that is not just saying, well, yeah, there is cheap office space. It is about having an open-minded society, less bureaucracy and an efficient administration, and investing in education and research. That is what attracts entrepreneurs, corporates, and skilled people from all over the world. Even our academic startup, I just heard from Florian, it's 40% non-Germans. In our startups, it's above 30, so place for improvement. But it shows that we are it's so important that we attract people from all over the world. And we need to put that effort to ensure the future of the ecosystem here. Last but not least, some self-advertisements. So if you want to know how we as Humboldt-Universität can support you with office space, finding co-founders, or get in contact with our startups, we are around the next 2 days, so get in contact with us. So let me say, please excessively use the 2 days to network. And as you are at the University of Wilhelm von Humboldt, educate yourself and enjoy your time. And now it's for me a pleasure to ask State Secretary Rickards to the stage to get a perspective of the city of Berlin. Thank you.
Good morning. Dobar den, Minister Sedlarski. Mr. Hoffman, thank you. Mr. Noel, good morning, everybody. I continue in English. As you see, I'm not Senator Pop, but I should tell you greetings. The good thing is now I can enjoy this brilliant atmosphere I already had when enter the building. Before I entered my political life, and that's not many months ago, it started 4 months ago actually, I was responsible for Wikimedia Deutschland, which is an entity behind Wikipedia, Commons, Wikidata. And even though that's a non-profit organization, as you might know, it is dealing with issues and challenges of classical startups. So I was in charge at that time of a young organization. Wikimedia was founded 12 years ago, and I had to deal with employers much younger than the average age of 40. I had to manage rapid growth. Today, Wikimedia has staff of almost 100 people in Germany, and it receives 400 to 500 page visits per month just on the Wikipedia side. So this was a lot to deal with. And I had to work in an international organization. The Wiki World comprises of nearly 300 different language versions. And the team is made up of volunteers, programmers, project managers, marketing professionals from all international backgrounds. So I had very well similar opportunities and challenges in the Berlin startup ecosystem you are facing today. I see the USPs compared to San Francisco, and I see Berlin's competitive advantage when it comes to legal and society frameworks. And I know the excitement in the eyes of an American or Russian programmer when they are offered a job in our great city. And I also know the difficulties when those guys, knowing only English at its best, go to the Berlin Bezirksamt for the first time. For years, the annual number of foundings of companies in Berlin has been up to 40,000. The investment bank Berlin estimates that out of these 40,000, there are 500 startups from the ICT sector, and it's still growing. And all are looking for programmers, developers from Germany, America, Russia, Bulgaria, or any other places in the world. In the past few years, Berlin has been attracting more and more big global players as well, and established national companies. They come here to set up digital innovative labs to benefit from the dynamics of Berlin startups ecosystem. You can find Deutsche Telekom, Lufthansa, Axel Springer, Porsche, Deutsche Bank, Cisco, Microsoft, Google. The total numbers of incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, innovation labs become outdated by the time you try to count them. The most recent lab I found out recently was the Z lab from the company Zeppelin, but after the Z, the alphabet starts from A again, and I just heard that Alba, the Berlin Waste Management Group, will start its lab as well soon. I don't know what's then B, but we figure out probably tomorrow. All of those labs and hubs, Link the Startups itself, intensively are looking for people who know how to code and who know what Ruby on Rails and Agile really means. And in addition to those, the Berlin startup ecosystem has welcomed more and more venture capital companies in the past few years. Today and tomorrow, you will have the opportunity to hear the idea from these well-known guys here at the startup camps. Berlin is and continues to be the leading VC hub here in Germany. In 2015, the press announced Berlin to be Europe's startup capital. In 2016, only London, Paris, and Stockholm, due to the Spotify deal, outranked Berlin. Berlin has found its place in the top startup metropolis for venture capital, and that's good. Next to private investment, there's a public financial support too by the Investment Bank of Berlin and its equity holding, the IBB Bet. In the founding phase and in the growth phase, there are different programs to provide subsidies, loans, and equity funding. So the IBB Business Support Guide provides an overview of all existing programs. I have the feeling that this guide is growing more extensively year after year. So my advice would be have a look at this if you're seeking for financial support. It's also available in English. I think in German it's called the Förderfibel, but yeah, you find it as a business support guide. 3 weeks ago, the global startup ecosystem ranking ranked Berlin in the 7th place worldwide. 2 years ago, it was place number 9. In the category of talents, Berlin ranks in the 5th place. And a major factor, I just can underline this, is the scene of Berlin universities and universities of applied science, like Humboldt University, Free University, Technical University, and others. Every year, dozens of funder teams are established deriving from these institutions. And alongside many others, the German Startup Association also played an important role in strengthening this ecosystem. And they do much more behind this event we see today and tomorrow here at the Startup Camp. And from my side, thank you very much for supporting the scene. It has been a while since Berlin was described as poor but sexy. Especially the creative-minded people felt attracted to this experimental pull of the city and followed the road to Germany's capital. Nowadays, the Berlin startup ecosystem has left this experimental stage behind. And when talking to experienced founders and VC companies, they tell me that Berlin is by far the most mature startup ecosystem in Germany, and therefore still sexy at least. The first generation of founders did learn a lot and now will continue to help and support the next generations of founders. Important fact is not every idea and enterprise will be sold for millions and billions at the end of the year. All of us know that some ideas and enterprises will fail. And I have this strong feeling that Berlin and Germany, and I think this is new actually, is just about to learn that failure of an idea is not at all the failure of a person. You find more and more innovators who are just about to take the second or the third chance and win at the end. And what is most important for me is that this change of mindset is now trickling through all the levels here in Germany. And Berlin's signature has been more and more internationally. It's being inter and cross-cultural. We are aware that we need talents from all over the world to foster Berlin's economic power. Berlin stands for freedom of choice, for a welcoming culture. And when looking deeper into the global startup ecosystem report that I mentioned before, I think the number was already said. You find out that 43% of Berlin's founders come from abroad. That's an absolutely high number. And that's only topped by the Valley, actually. And this might surprise some of the listeners here who have experiences with dealing with Berlin's administrations. Berlin's startups have the third highest visa acceptance rate for foreign applicants at 77% and have one of the fastest processing times too, which is not bad. Nevertheless, we at the Senate of Berlin do know that we cannot just sit and wait and applaud ourselves for things like this. We need to stay proactive and attractive in the so-called war for talents. We want the developers and programmers, the innovators, we want you actually to say yes to Berlin also in 10 and 20 years. It's a fast business. And therefore, we are working on making, for example, the vision of an English-speaking Bezirksamt a reality, may it be online, what might be a good idea, or in the real world. At the same time, we cultivate Berlin's own resources for talents. Beginning last year, young teams from university can apply for a Berlin Startup Stipend, which is co-financed by the European Union. And we are just about to prepare the next round. If it sounds reasonable to you, just contact the Founder Support Service, Mr. Hoffmann. You just met here on stage. He's for sure giving you the details how to continue with this. And as I said before, Berlin universities and universities of applied science are first class when it comes to entrepreneurship and to foundings. The latest Gründerradar, an evaluation of these activities, underlines the statements every year. And again, we at the Senate need to think outside the box and beyond. Just this Monday, we celebrated a grand opening of the Einstein Center for Digital Future, which includes 50 additional professorships to foster digitalization in Berlin, and I think that's an important step to make this city more digital. If you read the coalition paper of the Berlin government, you will see we prepare Berlin for a digital and sustainable future. With all the digital initiatives in town, we aim at becoming the German region for field trials with nationwide and global impact. We show developers, innovators, and creatives here in Berlin you can test your idea, here you can find like-minded peers, and Berlin offers the right context and framework for me. And all this is vital for growing and developing a city. The digital age supports and accelerates the ecological transition as well, which in turn fosters the basic economic development. For example, looking at Germany, we could save 190 tons of CO2 worldwide. This adds up to 9 billion tons when we realize an energy mix that is 100% renewable. To achieve this, we need intelligent applications of grids and intelligent technologies. The same goes for mobility, which is a big issue in a growing and big town here in Berlin. We need creative and intelligent concept for mobile solution to reduce vehicles and, at the end, frustrations of road users. All this will be realized by the help of new and disrupting business models. And Berlin innovators have already been working on that for years. We have here in this town the EUREF campus in Schöneberg and other places. To keep attractivity high, Berlin needs to offer additional places for people like you. Places where startups can rise and develop. We do see a growing demand for office space. The vacancy rate is decreasing to only about 3%. And here Berlin provides spaces, future places, we call them, like the UREF, like Cleantech Business Park, like Vista and Adlershof, where young companies can grow. And we try to moderate the competition in land usage we have in this big town, strengthening these future places, and also work on projects to provide housing at an affordable prices, which is an issue in a growing city as well. An additional important factor in strengthening Berlin's economy is the link of startups and grown-ups. Berlin Partner, the IHK, Bundesverband Deutsche Startups, and other players offer networking events where people can connect with each other, and that's important. Though the Berlin Senate tries to avoid thinking too much in categories like grown-ups, startups, we see Berlin as an ecosystem where all players have their roles and everybody finds a way to benefit. And to be honest, some old players worry when it comes to digitalization as well. And to build success stories for the Berlin economy, we are in close contact to industrial players, to Mittelstand, to SMIs, and to you, actually the Mittelstand of tomorrow. And we do accompany by you on your way, and we need to listen to you. We want to discuss your ideas with us because we want to learn from you and your experiences, and therefore this is an important platform. So, for once again, I welcome all programmers, developers, all innovators, creative minds, women and men in action, all you entrepreneurial enthusiasts. I wish you a very, very, very nice discussion in this not so sunny town today. Great exchanging of ideas and a successful conference, and thank you for listening to me.
Yes, a very good morning from my side too. My name is Dirk Marseille. I'm with Totem.co. We do community management software, work a lot with creative independence, and did also lots of interviews with startups. As said, we'll lead you through the morning program, but before I will do this, I have to remind you that we also have a networking app. I don't know if you already downloaded it, but I was told it's a very good app. You can go to the App Store, also on Android, and if you type in Startup Camp Berlin, you can download it and then find all the other people here through a profile and connect to them. So at the end of the morning, we will hear from Merck what it means to them to work together with startups, to collaborate with them. Before that, we will have a fireside chat between an investor and a startup. How does that exactly work? And before that, in 15 minutes, we will have a panel discussion on mobility. And of course, mobility is a very broad topic, but we have very interesting guests that will tie this together. But at first, we're going to start with our keynote speaker of the day. He actually comes from Nuremberg. 1/3 of his time he spends in Munich, and 2/3 of his time in Berlin. So this must mean that he spends lots of times on the bus. Give it up for Daniel Kraus of Flixbus, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. So, thanks for having me. And it's still early, and actually, the weather really depressed me when I today not hopped out of a bus, but on a plane, because this event is so early. Anyhow, who of you guys and girls knows Flixbus or even traveled with us already? That's what I want to hear. But still potential for like a little room for some more customers. I will now shortly tell you a little bit about the story of Flixbus and what we are aiming for and where we came from. I personally am Daniel, one of the founders, and at Flixbus responsible for the technology, which is actually one of the reasons why I spent most of the time in Berlin, because yes, our technology department is here, and also I guess it's way below 50% of German colleagues we have in the technology department, because we love Berlin as such an international city. Well, this is how it still looks in our cities, but not also in our cities, and not only in our cities, but also on the roads between our cities. It's full of cars. And not only that they produce much carbon dioxide, most of them are not used for many of the time. They just stand around and congest our streets. And we, together with all the other startups in the mobility sector focusing on local and short distance, we just want to make our country, our cities, and also Europe's cities green again. And fun fact, we are even green. The reason why that is currently working out quite well is that younger people do not really aim for having a car anymore. I mean, we're now Generation Y, X, Z, and a couple funny terms, but the generation before had been called Generation Golf, and yeah, they all had to have cars. Now it's much more important to have cool smartphones, like down here, or iPads, or some other cool mobile devices. And still, we want to travel, and we want to travel even more than our parents. And God bless the European Union, it became much easier. And still, it remained a little expensive for a while. And there were only options like the former governmental-owned railways, large airplane and aviation companies, our own cars again, and here and there some carpooling options. Well, and the reason why there were less long-distance mobility startups is basically that long distance is very CapEx oriented, so you really have to invest heavily before starting something up. It's also quite complex to have a certain demand prediction, because depending on the seasonality, whether it's summer or winter, certain events here, vacation and holidays there, not that easy to provide proper schedules. And last but not least, what helped us is the price transparency, because ultimately also our parents or grandparents, they had to hit the vending machine in the train stations or probably the clerks, and just they got the most expensive and complex tickets ever, had to have many interconnections, and it was not very convenient. And there was no other choice because they could not even have compared stuff. With the 21st century arising and the internet, well, it's so easy to compare stuff on your apps, on the website. There's so much cool meta searchers and comparison sites out there, which just figure out that you can decide whether you have much time or you have less money or whatever is the current need and your personal demand, you choose the mobility provider which fits best. And therefore, we had the chance to disrupt especially the long distance part of the mobility market.